Hello and welcome, and we're out here with the KZN Municipal Pension Fund. Now joining us as our guest is the Principal Executive Officer, Mr. Mketelwa, and also Mr. Lindsay Lofstedt, who is the fund consultant. Gents, welcome.
Thank you.
So just to kick things right off, what is the cause of the change of administrators?
The KZN Pension Fund, a long-term strategy is to achieve self-administration, but when the efficiencies allow that. And therefore, in the past 20 years, we've been moving slowly towards achieving that goal. But in order to do that, you have to be risk mitigant, take it step by step, phase by phase. Yeah. This particular phase is the last phase. The 20% of the administration, bulk of administration has already been brought in, but this particular one, because it's system-based and data-based, we had to ensure that we get a partner that is going to take us through to fully fledged self-administration. And our current service provider, that was Alexander Forbes, is an outsourced model, and they didn't want to participate in taking us into that transition. Therefore, we went out and looked for a partner that takes us to transition of self-administration. Oh. That's the reason we are changing the administrators.
Okay. So also, what would you say is the cause of the member concerns?
I think the cause for the member concern is really a misunderstanding of what actually is changing. Most members are concerned about their savings in the fund, their investments.
True.
And that is not changing. I think that's the key message that we were trying to get out to the members is your investments are safe, nothing is changing, the fund continues to grow as it always has. The part that is changing is really only back office administration. So it's really the boring stuff. It's the receiving of contributions, allocating it to member records, and when the people leave one day, they get paid out by Alexander Forbes. The only thing that changes now is instead of Alexander Forbes processing all of that, our partner, Fairshare, will be assisting with that process. But the money stays invested as it always has, continues to grow as it always has.
Cool.
I think that's been the main thing.
Cool. So just to jump in on that, as the fund, what have you done to ease the members' minds on the matter?
I think Thomas
we have actually been going out throughout the city to every corner and cranny, doing virtual meetings and physical meetings to explain the process and doing a written correspondence. We've got 2 detailed written correspondence that you can get in our website. You get in the info of the city, explaining the whole process and the whole journey to ease our members, and also taking away the misunderstanding and misinformation that was going there and putting the real facts to our members.
Oh, okay. So now what is your message to the members regarding the authenticity of the process as a whole?
Well, where we have touched base, because we have reached over 2,000 members, we have actually find that the members, the only thing they're complaining about is that we communicated late. But the process, they are not actually having a problem with the process. It's just that the way we communicated, some of them even had a misconception that we're supposed to consult with them. And our understanding is that legally, we're not supposed to consult, we're supposed to communicate big decisions, but the decision making and the processing is a board prerogative.
I think maybe if I can just add to that, I think in terms of the process, it's not something that was decided overnight. And I know Thomas and his team have been going around the country, the province, explaining to the people what the process was. But it actually started way back in 2015, when the fund started that strategic initiative that you spoke about, where we said we want to take more control. So it's been a 9-year process, and in those 9 years, as the PEO said, we've taken on more and more of the administration functions, the risk benefits, the investment processes, retirement benefit counselling. There's been many things that have kind of come in-house, and now we're at the stage where we're doing this last back office piece. We've been communicating that along the way to the members. I think if anything, maybe the mistake was we didn't tell them what the end game was going to be, that this last piece would change. I think the other part of the problem is Alexander Forbes, the back office administrator, is very good at branding.
Yes.
So they have put their name out on every piece of paper, on every engagement, and that's been part of the problem the fund has had. We've had to continuously, with the trustees, fight with Alexander Forbes to say, it's not your fund, it's the KZN Municipal Pension Fund, not the Alexander Forbes Retirement Fund or whatever. And so I think it's that brand change that's maybe caused some fear amongst the members. The reality is that back office function is only 20% of the work, and all of that we've, the other 80 has already been done by the fund, and now we're going to just take on that last piece. Yeah.
So now, gents, what risk mitigation systems are in place to measure FairShare's productivity?
Well, the first thing, we didn't just take FairShare and say start on day A.
Yeah.
We had to check their licensing, check their credibility, due diligence, proper due diligence, check with the other clients, get referencing with other clients that are already managing. And secondly, we check their indemnity levels, how much cover they've got in case they do a mistake. And we have been pushing them to also increase their current cover of indemnity. But on top of that, we said for the past 3 months, which was April, May, June, we go through a process of them working with Alexander Forbes at doing dummy runs in order to ensure that there is no data that gets affected in the process, so that everything is running smoothly and clean. When they're taking over on 1st of July, they're taking over after they've run and understand the rules of the fund, understand the complexities of the fund, making sure that they know how things are done in the fund, so that that's whole 3 months, making sure that they also train our staff members, our HR people to understand their processes and their systems.
Maybe you can just also add to that,
Yes.
besides the dummy run, because now they've already shadowed the work. I think the other big risk mitigating factor was, if the fund takes over self-administration on day one, we called it the big bang approach. It means from day one, all of a sudden you've got to have staff, you've got to have systems, you've got to have processes, and the fund hasn't got that experience. So what we said was, to mitigate the risk of what we call the big bang, where on day one you've got to be fully functional, we said they need, and that's what Thomas refers to it as partners. They are our transition partners. So we want to get to self-administration, but in the meantime, FairShare, because they're experienced, they're going to help us get the data from where it is onto our system. Once it's on our system, because they're the experts, that's the hard part, they're going to do that. They're then gradually going to hand over tasks to the fund. And that's a much more measured, risk-controlled way of doing it. And that handover can be, it's in the control of the fund. It's either 1 year, if you've got staff, processes, procedures, capacity, we take it on in 1 year. If it takes 10 years, it takes 10 years. But the action plan says we'll do this within 3 years. So again, very, very important. There's much come across in the communication. It's a one-liner, it's a one-off communication. But actually, it's well thought out. We've got a transition plan in place so that it happens as smoothly as possible, so the members don't get affected. And I mean, we've done much around that. I'm hoping there might be some teething errors, but I'd be surprised if anything bad happens, because the processes and the plans have been put in place, and so far so good.
So then, gents, how did the fund get to FairShare, and specifically the steps leading up to this point of appointing FairShare?
Yeah, I think, go back to 2015, what we started with was, we realized that in order to take on self-administration, we need people, processes, and a system. So we knew that we would have to recruit people, and we knew that we'd have to learn some processes and procedures. So the first thing that the fund tackled was, what system do we use? And so we went around the country. I mean, we looked at all of the big systems. So there's a Kznmpf system that's run by SunGuard overseas. We looked at a couple of local other systems. Bytes Technology was one of them. So we like the locally made system because it's you can develop it and you pay costs in rands and not in dollars. And obviously, if it's in dollars, like the SunGuard system and the Bytes system, if the rand depreciates, which it actually has, you end up paying more for it. So we like the control of the South African system. Also, you can go kick down their door if the system doesn't work. You can find the people, and you can actually deal with them if you have a specific need. So we identified. It took about 3 years, but we identified Everest system as the one. And then we had to find a partner, because we decided a long time ago it's quite hard to do that big bang approach that we were speaking about earlier. So we wanted a partner. So we did ask Alexander Forbes, our current partner, can you help us? And I think they had a bit of a conflict of interest because they don't want to lose the business. So they said, no, thank you. That's not what we do. We do outsourced admin. So we had to find another partner. We found another partner who potentially could help us, and that partner then fell by the wayside. They were taken over by another company. So we shopped around. We've been to Sanlam, we've been to Momentum, Old Mutual, we went to all the providers. Eventually we found Fairsure. And the nice thing about Fairsure was, first of all, they were willing to do the transition, knowing that it's a short-term relationship. But second of all, and taking on that risk, so they know the processes and the procedures already. And because they already use the Everest system, it would align perfectly with the system we had chosen. So that's how we really got to the Fairsure guys. They're using the system that the fund prefers. They've got processes and procedures in place already for that system, which they can teach us. And so we get to the last leg, which the PEO has already started. He's created an organogram of the staff that we need in order to do the transition over the next 3 years. We've identified the roles and responsibilities, and we've started the process of looking for those people to recruit them. So it really has been a 9-year countrywide search for a system, a countrywide search for partners. We went to all the big players. Unfortunately, it's not in their interest to help a fund self-administer, and so we think we found a good partner. So as Thomas mentioned earlier, not only did we go through that process, but the trustees went and visited the sites of the offices of these people. They also visited the clients of these people to get references, but not references in email or written, see them face to face and talk to them. And I think the very last piece of the puzzle, which Thomas alluded to, was this company, Fairsure, is no stranger to eThekwini Municipality. In fact, they administer one of the funds that certain employees of the council are members of, the Sala Pension Fund. So it's not like they're strangers to the people here. So I think for all those reasons, it made sense. Yeah.
So now, gents, why were members not informed earlier on the intent to change administrators? And also, why did the fund only use one-liner to communicate this important change?
Yeah, normally we do communicate with our members every year, and we're using a very good platform, which is the member seminars, which we communicate directly with them. We go to them in the various corners of the city. And in this particular time, we're unfortunately confronted with the non-availability of venues, because during the period that we normally do this, it was actually the venues that we normally use were taken over by the IEC for election education and also for preparing for elections. Therefore, we said, rather than not to communicate at all to the members, let's send some information, even if it's in the form of current affairs. And that particular paragraph communication was actually a teaser, and it did indicate to the members that there is more communication on the subject that is going to follow. Therefore, it was not the complete communication and was not the end around the issue. And as proven, we have actually been communicating since April, many more other communicate using the platform of the municipality called Info, our website and our social media pages.
And also, Jez, is there any change to the current administration service going forward?
I'll take that one. So the intention is not to change anything. The idea was just to stop using an outsourced partner and to bring it in-house, using our transition partner Fairsure, and then to continue to roll out without interruption, as far as possible, the exact same services. Of course, the intention or the strategic direction around bringing it in-house is, number one, to be able to react more quickly to members' needs, to be more adaptive and be able to change processes and procedures to meet the actual fund needs and the members' needs. So down the line, we do expect that servicing will improve in the sense of quicker turnaround times and maybe more client-centric or member-centric service delivery. So we do think we'll see some improvements. But for now, everything carries on as usual. Members shouldn't notice the difference. Maybe they'll just see a difference in logo, and that's about it.